Welcome back. So we're going to finish up this PowerPoint and the church in the second century before we move to that huge change and development of the 300s. So there is one major heresy of the second century. We see its roots in the New Testament in letters like Ephesians, but it is known as Gnosticism. So Gnosticism is a second century heresy, second century movement, let me put it that way, that was found throughout the Roman Empire. So it's not a Christian heresy. It was a philosophical system. So it's a philosophy that sort of arose in the second century. We find it in its influence on multiple different schools of thought in the Roman Empire, including Christianity. So it is, like I said, a larger philosophy, a way of thinking about the world that arose in the second century and influenced Christianity and continues, in some ways still continues, to influence certain branches of Christianity, but it was very much considered a heresy. So what is Gnosticism? In the largest, so unconnected to Christianity, what is Gnosticism? Gnosticism, I said, is a philosophy that believes in this idea of radical dualism. So what does that mean? So the idea of Gnosticism is that everything in the world is divided into the physical or the spiritual. So that's what I mean, what we mean when we say radical dualism, the physical world versus the spiritual world. And the whole reality is comprised of this separation. So in Gnosticism, the belief that is that the physical world is evil and the spiritual world is good. It does then also base itself on a very strong separation of the body from the soul. In true Gnostic belief, there is the Creator God, who is also then evil, and then the God of the spiritual world, who is good. So true Gnosticism, you need to have two gods. So it does get a little interesting when it's applied to Christianity. So everything in the physical world is evil, and it's almost like a chemical understanding. The table, the chair you're sitting in, the table that you're working at, the computer that you're looking at is all evil. Everything. And everything exists in one or other, undivided in either this physical world or the spiritual world, except for humans, right? So humans then have a soul, but they also have a physical body. And this is sort of the basic understanding of Gnosticism, is this separation of the body and the soul, but then ultimately this definition of evil versus good. So humans then are the only thing that combine both, and therefore humans are, basically they would have thought of themselves like our souls are like birds in a cage. We are trapped in our physical bodies, and the goal then of Gnosticism is to remove our souls, so this is the goal, remove our souls from our physical body. Now, Gnosticism itself, the word, comes from the word gnosis, meaning knowledge. So they have so Gnosticism comes from this word. So the physical, we are all human beings. This is the state of human existence. We are physical bodies that trap our souls, and the goal then of this philosophy is to figure out how to release our souls from our bodies. So, of course, as long as you're alive, you're trapped. But they believed that with proper knowledge, one could learn ways to disengage the soul from the physical body. And eventually, when a person died, they would be able to carry that knowledge into the afterlife and achieve ultimate separation from the physical. So dying in and of itself isn't enough to free your soul. You have to have knowledge. And this isn't just, I went to school and did well. It's what we call special or revealed knowledge. And we've probably talked about this some point during the semester, but this idea of special or revealed knowledge is the belief that certain leaders in the movement had been, through whatever visions or whatever, had revealed to them this knowledge that if you were a follower of Gnostic beliefs, you would then hook up with one of these leaders, and they would teach you how to be released from your body. So again, Gnosticism is a philosophy, but it becomes a religious movement as these various leaders throughout time sort of set themselves up as having this revealed knowledge, special knowledge. And so it was many of these, the Gnostic groups really operated a lot like secret societies, right? You would be allowed a certain level of knowledge, and then as you pass that level, you would be given another set of knowledge, information, and you would progress through these various levels of knowledge until you became a full-fledged member of the group. These secret societies like this have existed always. They still do. The process, a silly version of such would be like a fraternity where you go through Rush and you come in, or a sorority, and you learn the basic rules, and then they accept you and you learn the special handshake or whatever until you're fully become a full-fledged member of the fraternity. So that's a kind of a silly, very low stakes kind of secret society. But these others became very, very significant throughout the Roman Empire for many centuries, and continued to sort of plague the church because, of course, what's ultimately Gnosticism is not something that works within Christianity. The Old Testament clearly places Yahweh as the creator God, that the Bible affirms is good, and the Bible continues to affirm that creation is good, and rejects this idea of the separation of the body and the soul. And so, but it was very, very attractive to many, many individuals over the course of centuries. So that is Gnosticism. So this meaning knowledge that one can, through the acquiring special knowledge from these leaders who had revelations, that you could learn then the knowledge that would, when you died, be able to release your soul into all eternity in all goodness. So that's Gnosticism. So let me erase a little of this and talk about the most famous Gnostic Christian heresy, and that is known as Marcionism. So Marcionism is named after its leading, many of these heresies, by the way, are named after the person we associate them with. So Marcion was a wealthy businessman who became a Christian. He was not a pastor or anything like that, but rather a wealthy member of a Christian church. So Marcionism is a Gnostic heresy found within the Christian church. So what does Gnosticism look like in as a Christian heresy? Well, basically, some parts of it did sort of believe in some form of rather not God as the creator, but a demonic creator. So you do get some sense of a dualism in heaven. But specifically, then, the idea is that those Christians who had the special knowledge were ahead of or better than the other Christians. So I always think of George Orwell's Animal Farm. All pigs are equal, but some pigs are more equal than others. And that is exactly what Marcion would have said. All Christians are equal, but some of us have access to special knowledge which makes us better in some way. But that's clearly not something that's acceptable in Christianity. Plus, this idea of this special knowledge that you would take with you into the afterlife meant that Marcion argued that if you had this special knowledge, there was a special heaven, a better heaven, waiting for those who had this knowledge. So, everybody gets to heaven, but some people get to a special heaven who have knowledge, who have this special knowledge. It's very, very weird. Marcion today is mostly famous for the fact that he rejected the Old Testament as scripture. Clearly, the church did not follow this, but he really thought that any part of the New Testament that he didn't think, that he thought was too earthy, he rejected. But again, his Gnosticism is not as much of what he's famous for now as the movement that tried to stop the use of the Old Testament as a part of the church. So, as we end the 2nd century, we move into the year 300, and the church changes dramatically, and we will take that up in another video. Have a good one, everybody.